Okay, boys and girls, this is chapter 4's lesson 2. It starts on page 152, the Virginia colony. Remember, you are following or listening along for the 10 blanks. Starting on page 152, you are there. "We're getting off here," your friend shouts. "The year is 1587. You and 116 other settlers are on ships off the coast of Roanoke Island in present-day North Carolina. Earlier settlers had built homes and a fort on Roanoke, but they didn't like the island. They all went home to England. Maybe we'll be able to use the houses they left behind, you say. Still, you do not have a very good feeling about this place." England attempts a colony. England saw that Spain had grown rich from its colonies. England's rulers now wanted their own colonies in the blank number 1. They knew they would benefit from the lumber and other raw materials the colonies would provide. A raw material is a resource that can be used to make a blank number 2. The Lost Colony. In 1584, England's Queen Elizabeth I chose Walter Raleigh to set up a colony in North America. A year later, Raleigh sent John White and about 100 colonists to Roanoke Island, in an area Raleigh named blank number 3. These colonists did not stay long. They ran low on food and returned to England. John White led another group of settlers to Roanoke Island in 1587. After a time, White sailed back to England to get more supplies. When he returned 3 years later, all the settlers were gone. What happened there is still a mystery. Roanoke is known as the blank number 4. The Virginia Company. In the early 1600s, a group of English merchants wanted to try again to start a colony in Virginia. With the approval of King James I, they set up the Virginia Company. In return for money that the merchants had given to set up the company, each owner received stock in the company. Stock is part ownership in a business. Jamestown. In 1607, 3 ships sent by the Virginia Company sailed into the deep bay now called the Chesapeake. The 105 colonists aboard sailed up a river they named the blank number 5 in honor of their king. Along the shore, they cleared land and built the settlement of Jamestown, England's first permanent colony. Jamestown was a poor choice for a settlement. The swampy land was not good for farming. The colonists had no interest in farming anyway. Most came to Virginia to find gold and get rich. No one bothered to plant or gather food. More than half the colonists blank number 6. The first year. Jamestown might have failed without Captain John Smith. As the leader of Jamestown, Smith made an important rule. Anyone who did not work did not eat. The colonists were soon busy planting crops and building a fort. The Powhatan Confederacy. Most of the Native Americans living in Virginia at this time belonged to the Powhatan Confederacy. Its tribes were united under one main blank number 7. Colonists gave the name Powhatan to all the tribes as well as to the chief. From the start, there was trouble between the Powhatan and the colonists, as hungry colonists often stole the tribe's crops. Chief Powell's daughter, Pocahontas, helped bring about a short time of peace between the two groups. During this time, both groups cooperated by trading goods. Growth and government. For all of its troubles, Jamestown grew. A leader named John Rolfe brought blank number 8 plants from the West Indies to the colony. The colonists were soon growing tobacco as a cash crop, a crop that people grow to sell. The Virginia Company sold tobacco all over Europe and made huge profits. A profit is the money left over after all costs have been paid. Newcomers arrive. Growing tobacco required many workers. The Virginia Company paid for people's passages or trips to Virginia. In return, the people agreed to work without pay for a length of time. These workers were called indentured servants. They usually worked from 4 to 7 years. After that time, they were freed. In 1619, the first Africans were brought to blank number 9. No one knows whether they were treated as indentured servants or as enslaved people. Over time, more Africans were brought to the colony. They came as enslaved workers. Unlike indentured servants, they were rarely freed. Their hard work helped Virginia prosper. The House of Burgesses. By 1619, the Virginia colony had more than 1,000 people. Laws were needed to keep order. The Virginia Company said the colonists could have the same rights as people living in England. So, colonists chose to set up a legislature, or law-making branch of the government. Virginia's legislature, the House of Burgesses, met in 1619. It was the first representative assembly in the English colonies. Now, some colonists could elect members to represent or speak for them in the government. Only men who owned property could become members and vote in the House of Burgesses. Women, indentured servants, and enslaved people were not allowed to hold office or to vote. The Powell Wars. As more colonists came to Virginia, they took over more Powell land. In 1622, the Powell fought back. This started years of fighting. The Powell Wars led King James I to make Virginia a royal colony in 1624. This meant that the king owned the blank number 10. To help run the colony, the king picked a governor who shared power with the House of Burgesses. Summary. Starting in the 1580s, England set up colonies in North America. The Virginia colony slowly developed. As the colony grew, slavery was introduced and the Powell Wars were fought.